Hello beautiful, welcome back to Nat's Beautiful Life. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my September wrap up. I feel like I had some good books and I feel like I had some books that were just kind of like meh. I had one that I have pretty strong feelings about. Once again, if you hear noise, dogs. Anyway, yeah, so just wanted to share that with you. Also, my eyeliner is so flipping thick. It's the thickest eyeliner I think I've ever worn in my life. And I don't know what happened. I just went eyeliner crazy because nothing went wrong. Wasn't trying to fix anything. Just went nuts with my eyeliner. Whatever. Also, one more thing I wanted to mention is I believe what I'm going to be doing is putting in the description box upcoming videos, so things that I'm currently working on or that I'm really excited about. So that way you can see what's coming up and all that. And as per usual, let me know if there's anything that you want to see because I love your feedback. Alright, so let's get going into the wrap up. The first book I read in September. Oh, also, I want to mention one more thing. Let me get it. With my book club, I've been doing a bingo. So a fall bingo. If you want, you can go to the Facebook group page that is linked down below, and you can find the PDF for this. It's yeah, it's there. I may turn it into a JPEG if you want, and that way you can just print it out as a picture if that's easier. But anyway, so we're doing this. It goes from September 1st through November 30th, and so some of the books that I've read or chosen to read are so that I can mark off my bingo. Yeah, and I do believe I'm going to do that in winter and stuff, so different games, not necessarily always bingo, but I will maybe include you guys a little bit more in the winter one. Now, let's get going into the books. The first book I read or finished in September was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Let me just say I loved this book, especially the first 3/4 of the way through, and for some reason I had to have like either Chinese or Japanese food like every day. I kept thinking of Kung Fu Panda and how he's always having like dumplings and noodles, and so me and Ryan ate a lot of Asian food while I was reading this because it just put me in those vibes, because they talk about like being in the cafeteria and things that they ate. But anyway, she goes to a school. Our main character, she goes to a school and she has to like learn how to be a warrior, a fighter. So she's kind of like in their military, but as it turns out, she has some special things about her, and she gets spotted by this one individual teacher who wants to take her under her wing, and that whole section, that whole part, I loved. There's one instance where she and her troop go into a war-torn city after the opposing army has come through, and it is so graphic that I had to put it down and just kind of move on with my life for a little bit because it was just so graphic, and that part put a bad taste in my mouth. But it's war, and she was, you know, I'm just thinking like, who writes this and thinks of these things, because the things that happened in that village were disturbing. I'm a little thrown on the ending, but I don't regret reading this book, and I will probably pick up the second one just to see how the story goes. And then if I don't like that, then I'll quit. But so far, I really did enjoy this, and I think I gave it a decent star rating, like 3.75 or something like that. Just, I don't know. Anyway, the next book I read was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. As I was reading this book, I thought to myself, congratulations, you rewrote The Hunger Games. And then as I went on, I was like, and you figured out a way to make a YA Game of Thrones. And, oh, I wanted to like this book so much. And I know the series is so loved. But here's the thing, the political aspect of it, I'm intrigued by, and I get it. The other thing is just okay, so the Reds that live underground, I don't want to spoil it, but just know that I might read the second one just because the way it ended, I was like, okay, so here's the political intrigue that I've been waiting for, but I'm not running out to get it. It's going to be one of those things, like, if I'm in the mood to read a dystopian and figure out what goes on from there, then I'll pick it up. But I'm not running out for it. And this is probably my most disappointing book this is my most disappointing book of September, because I really want to like it. Also, so much rape in this book that it was like, is this necessary? And I get that it's like a whole political explanation for things, like when we see people as less than us, then we could do whatever we want to with them because we see them as not even human. It was too much. I did not enjoy it. So there's that. I'm sorry if that's your favorite series, but I just didn't like it. The other book that I was reading, an audiobook, is this one. It is This Is Me, and then, let's see, what's the tagline? Loving the Person You Are Today by Chrissy, Metz. She is a character on This Is Us. I have never watched This Is Us because everyone says you cry your eyes out after every episode, and I don't enjoy that kind of thing, but I wanted to read her memoir because it sounded very interesting, and she is a plus size woman in Hollywood, and then also just living her life that way, and it's a little bit about that, and then also about just realizing it's okay to want good things and to do good things and to buy yourself something when you have the money. It's not evil to do that. And just her journey, and I absolutely loved it. It's rather short audiobook, but I highly recommend it. It is great. So whether you are young, you are old, skinny, or plump, whatever, you will benefit from this book. I really loved it, and it's just awesome. Yeah, can't praise it enough. Good book. The next one is another memoir. It was an actual book that I read, and that was our book club book of the month, and it is No Way Home. I'm reading it if you went around looking down. No Way Home, a memoir of life on the run by Tyler Wetherall. I wanted so much more from this. It was almost like she took her diary and published that, like, as it for, I don't know. The gist is she was on the run, like her family moved around a lot, and she didn't quite understand until a little bit later that her father was actually like hiding from the FBI, and they had moved from America to England and then basically all over the world. But her mom kind of settled back into England. I believe that was where she was from, and just kind of tried to live their life. She actually had them herself for a while, and then she would try to let the kids like visit him wherever he was, but it was all very clandestine because he's wanted, and they're watching the mom and the kids because they figure they will lead them to him. Anyway, it comes down to when she's an adult and he is telling her what he actually did, and that's when I said, that's the book I would want. I want that book. So it kind of fell flat for me. I literally read it in one whole day because it was a day that I was at the hospital with my dad, and we were there all flipping day. Scheduling issues. So I was there all day, so I was able to read it and like finish up the last little bit at home. So yeah, wasn't a bad read. It's not a bad book. It was just kind of like meh. I wanted more. I would like to have had a little bit more of his story. I feel like if they wrote his book, that'd be a good book. And she was also on Criminal podcast, and so the day after I read the book, I listened to the podcast, and it really gave me nothing more. Moving on. Next book is The Case for Jamie by Brittany Cavallaro, and this is, I believe, the third book in the Sherlock Holmes series. I know there's at least going to be one more coming out, and these books are just, they're middle of the road mysteries to me. I enjoy them, but yeah, they're not anything to write home about. They're YA mysteries, which are not always the best type of mysteries unless they're like dark. But I do enjoy them. I really love Charlotte's character, And this one was a good one. The Case for Jamie was really good because it focused, like, he had just kind of let go of the whole Sherlock Holmes thing, moving on with his life, and then finds out he can't. And so, if you've read or watched the BBC Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, her Charlotte Holmes is a lot like his Sherlock Holmes. So if you like that show, you'll like these books. And like I said, they're great books. They're not masterpieces, but I do enjoy them, so I was happy to get a hold of that this time. The next book was Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This was a highlight in the month. I devoured this book. When I first read the synopsis, I think it was at the bookstore, and I read the synopsis of it, and I thought, that's a good time. That's something I want to read. And I did actually get it from the library because I put myself on the list before they actually received it. So even before they got it, and it was like on order, I was on the list. So I was one of the first people to get it. It is phenomenal. And if you've read the Remnant Chronicles, which I haven't, it is kind of like it's kind of in the same world but much later. And in fact, I've ordered the Remnant Chronicles off a book outlet because I have to read that now because I enjoyed this book. I love the writing. There was a romance in it, but it wasn't like graphically disturbing. It was a slow burn kind of thing. Oh, it's actually like, I want to be with you, I can't be with you, which I hate that. But it got to the point where they finally were like, just read it. It's so good. And the story itself is good. It's like there's a kingdom and the girl is one of like the Navy SEALs of this kingdom. And the guy is like the head of almost like, I wouldn't say it's like a mafia family, but it is kind of like a mafia family, and they run this town. And they meet up for reasons, and she stays with them for a while, and just there's all kinds of like things going on in the background, and the story isn't the story, but it is, and I love it so much. And the prologue, the very end of the book, is setting us up for the next book, and I flipping can't wait. So totally get a hold of Dance of Thieves, Mary E. Pearson, ASAP. Run, don't walk, go right now. So good. The next book I have is Dumpling by Julie Murphy. It was an audiobook that I read. This is another book where it's like a larger girl who doesn't have a lot of self-esteem, and she winds up joining a beauty pageant, but there's more to it. It's not like she wanted to be in the beauty pageant. It was something that she did for her aunt who had passed away, who was also, like, she was very large, like couldn't leave the house. And she just wanted to do all the things that her aunt couldn't do, she always wanted to do. But her aunt was such a good person, and she loved her so much. And they were both, and she has a best friend who's like beautiful and tiny and skinny and like could be cheerleader and all of this stuff. And it would make sense for her to be in the beauty pageant, but she only joins the beauty pageant because Dumpling, and that's her like nickname from her mom, joins the beauty pageant. And there's a love story in there which kind of gets on my nerves. He does, not her, he does. But anyway, it's a little realistic actually, but I really did enjoy it. I do recommend reading it, and I will probably pick up the next book. It follows two other characters, but the narrator who narrated that character for the second book was so annoying when she did her voice that's going to have to be a book I read. I can't listen to her talk like that for an entire book. But absolutely loved it. If you like contemporaries, coming of age, things like that, people coming into their own, that's a really good book for you. The next book I have is a book that you are going to smack yourself in the forehead and go, I can't believe she had never read that. You guys, I'm in my late 30s and I had never read The Anne of Green Gables. True story. So for my book bingo, there is a square that says a book that's out of your comfort zone and also a book your friend loves. My friend Juliet, this is her favorite book of all time, and she has like the whole series and stuff. So I was like, I'll read it. And I actually bought this special edition one after I read it because I got it from the library. You guys, why have I not read this before? I fell in love with her. I know that I am like hair dyed and covered in makeup right now, but I have always been so self-conscious of my red hair and my freckles, and I always felt so ugly, and I always felt like maybe I was the weird kid, but people liked me even though I was just like strange. It was different. People liked me because that. And I just loved her. I loved her just outlook on life and just everything, and I just love this book so much, and I feel like this is going to be my new comfort book. So, you know, some people have like a comfort movie, and I've had a comfort movie as well. Like whenever you've had a rough day, or you're just down, or you just want to feel better, you put that movie on and stuff your face or whatever. I feel like this is going to be my comfort book. I loved it so much, and I highly recommend it. If you've never read it, I don't care if you're 50, read it. It's so good. The next one, and we're getting done. I've read 12 books this month, so we're moving on. On my book bingo, it's read a book that has non-human characters, and I was just coming off of Anne and Green Gables. My favorite book as a child was Charlotte's Web, and my original copy is gone. In fact, during the hurricane that came by a couple weeks ago, my books and stuff were at my parents' house, and they got completely ruined. So all of my books from my childhood, all of that's depressing now that I think about it, they're gone. And I had just picked up, this is the 60th anniversary edition of the Charlotte's Web, and I read it in one sitting, and I just love it. If you've never read Charlotte's Web, awesome. And it's so funny. The first book, or the first line of the book I had forgotten was, "Where's Papa going with that axe?" And yeah, I love it. By the way, I'm a vegetarian, so I was all about trying to save Wilbur myself. I can't eat an animal. Can't do it. The next one is P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. I read the first book. It's up there somewhere. And then I watched the movie, and I was like, that's not right. And then I read the second one, and it's kind of like, I realized the movie was kind of shove them together. But I actually really enjoyed it, and it was funny. I liked them both, but I don't know. I want to strangle Peter when I read these books. I'm like, can't you see that girl is full of crap and using you? Can't you see it? But he doesn't, because he's a man. But anyway, I really liked it, and I was really rooting for John Ambrose. But alas. But things worked out. I don't know if I'm going to read the third book, or if I'm going to read it right away. But I just love the family, and I love the dynamic with the sisters and the father. It's a cute read. And it was, like I said, it was funny. I liked it. I had to go and delete a whole bunch of stuff off my memory thing because I didn't have any memory left. Alright, let's move on. The next book I read was Save the Date by Morgan Matson. I love Morgan Matson. And my favorite, I think, is Since You've Been Gone. I also love The Unexpected Everything by her. But read a book with an animal on the cover. And she always seems to have some sort of dog or something on the cover. And if you don't know about her covers, they're usually really pretty, but she also usually has something inside them, like these. And this is the mom of the main character draws a cartoon like for the paper, and so that's what that is. But let's just talk about this book. There's been so many mixed reviews about this, and I think that it's because sometimes Morgan Matson is an acquired, or I wouldn't say acquired taste, but is you either love her or you hate her. And I love her. I actually really like this book. You do have to suspend your belief a little bit, because everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong, but in the end it gets fixed. And you find yourself very annoyed with the main character because she is living in this fantasy world of what her family is, And towards the end, she finally realizes she's put them up on this pedestal, and they're people. They're not perfect. They're real people. And it allows her to kind of move on. She's having trouble moving on from her life of being a teenager, and she's the youngest of all these kids. And yeah, it's really good. I do recommend it. It's a great read. It's kind of longer, but it was quick because I enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't think it's as good as like The Unexpected Everything or the others, but I still like it. And there are parts in here that you'll laugh. So yeah, one more and then we're done. Are you? Oh, my dog is like moaning like. I'm so bored, whatever. Anyway, the last book I have is called Bliss. I got this, I actually have the ebook, but I prefer a real book, so I got it from the library. And this is a middle grade fantasy book, and I got it because read a book about food, fiction or nonfiction. And it is about a magical bakery. So it's a middle grade book, like I said. So if you have kids who like Harry Potter or are maybe not quite old enough for Harry Potter, this is a good book to start because it's very zany and kid friendly, and they're gonna laugh and really enjoy the characters. I actually really loved the characters, and the story was cute, and I really enjoyed it. It has like 300 and something pages, but they're like for younger readers, so they're larger print. It's a little bit spread out. So it technically in my ebook it was like 188 or 178 pages, but they spread it out to 388. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. It's really, really funny and cute, and I think that kids would just devour it and love it so much. So I do recommend that one. And that is it. That is 12 books and probably 6 files right here on my camera because I had to get some space going. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I apologize if it's really long, but what you gotta do, it's 12 books. I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon called The 10 Books You Must Read. I have some like lifelong favorites and ones that I just feel like everyone could benefit from reading, and I'm going to share those with you really soon. And I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, click that thumbs up, let me know in the description box, the comments, what you guys want to see next. I love your feedback and all that jazz. What have you read this month that was really good? Like what was your Dance of Thieves? What was your favorite book this month? Let me know. And what was your Red Rising so I know not to bother? I also DNF'd 2 books, which I won't mention because I know one of them is like very much beloved. And I'll talk about that later maybe, but I DNF'd 2 books. I like started reading and then I was just like, no, not for me. So, yeah. That's it. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys here really soon on It's Beautiful Life. Have a great day, gorgeous.